teacher asks her class if there are 5 birds sitting on a fence and you shoot one of them, how many will be left? She calls on little Johnny to answer. He replies, there are none left. They all fly away with the first gunshot. The teacher replies the correct answer is 4, but I like how you're thinking. Then little Johnny says, I have a question for you. There are 3 women sitting on a bench having ice cream. One is delicately licking the sides of the triple scoop of ice cream. The second is gobbling down the top and sucking the cone. The third is biting off the top of the ice cream. Which one is married? The teacher, blushing a great deal, replies, well, I suppose the one that's gobbled down the top and sucked the cone. To which little Johnny replies, the correct answer is the one with the wedding ring on. But I like how you're thinking. A priest was getting ready to hear confessions one day when he got a terrible attack of diarrhea. So he asked the altar boy to take over for him. But I don't know how to hear confessions, said the altar boy. It's easy, said the priest. You've seen me do it many times. Nobody will know the difference. So the altar boy was in the confession booth when a man came in and sat down on the other side. Father, I don't know what to do, the man said. Last night my wife and I were in bed. She was sleeping and I rolled her over and did her in the ass. I feel bad about it, but I don't know how to make it up to her. That's easy, said the altar boy. Just give her milk and cookies like the priest gives me. 54-year-old accountant leaves a letter for his wife one Friday evening that reads, Dear wife, I am 54, and by the time you receive this letter, I will be at the Grand Hotel with my beautiful and attractive 18-year-old secretary. When he arrives at the hotel, there's a letter waiting for him that reads as follows, Dear husband, I too am 54, and by the time you receive this letter, I will be at the Breakwater Hotel with my handsome and whirly 18-year-old boy toy. You, being an accountant, will know that 18 goes into 54 more many times than 54 goes into 18. And and his wife are sound asleep in bed when the phone rings. The man picks up, listens for a second, and says, How the hell would I know, you idiot? I'm not a weatherman. Before slamming down the receiver. Who was that? Asks his wife. Wrong number. It was some idiot asking if the coast was clear. Woman is in a hotel lobby. He wants to ask the clerk a question. As he turns to go to the front desk, he accidentally bumps into a woman beside him. And as he does, his elbow goes into her breast. They are both quite startled. The woman turns to her and says, Ma'am, if your heart is as soft as your breast, I know you'll forgive me. She replies, If your is as hard as your elbow, I'm in room 436. There was a construction worker on the 3rd floor of an unfinished building. He needed a handsaw but was too lazy to go down and get it himself. He tried to call his fellow worker on the ground to get it from him, but this guy could not hear a word he said. So he started to give a sign so the guy on the ground could understand him. First, he pointed at his eyes, meaning I, then pointed at his knees, meaning need, and moved his hand back and forth, describing the movement of a handsaw. Finally, the guy on the ground started nodding his head like he understood, and then dropped his pants and started to off. The guy on the 3rd floor got pissed off and ran down to the ground and started yelling at this guy. You idiot! I was trying to tell you I needed a handsaw. The other guy replied, I know, I was trying to tell you that I was coming. Newlywed couple arrived back from their honeymoon to move into the tiny new flat. Care to go to bed? The husband asked. Shh, said his blushing bride. These walls are paper thin. The neighbors will know what you mean. Next time, ask me in code, like, have you left the washing machine door open instead? So the following night, the husband asks, I don't suppose you left the washing machine door open, darling. No, she snapped back. I definitely shut it. Then she rolled over and fell asleep. The next morning, she woke up feeling a little frisky herself. So she nudged her husband and said, I think I did leave the washing machine door open after all. Don't worry, said the man. It was only a small load, so I did it by hand. Two blondes were facing each other with a lake between them. The first blonde wants to get to the other side, so she yells to the other blonde, hey, I want to get to the other side of the lake, but I can swim. Please tell me how you did this. The second blonde then says, but you are on the other side. A man and a woman are at a bar having a few beers. They start talking and soon realize they're both doctors. After an hour, the man says, hey, how about if we go home together tonight? No strings attached. The woman doctor agrees to it. They go back to her place and he goes into the bedroom. She goes into the bathroom and starts scrubbing like she's about to go into the operating room. She scrubs for a good 10 minutes. At last, she goes into the bedroom and they have sex. Afterward, the man says, you're a surgeon, aren't you? Yes, says the woman. How did you know? I could tell by the way you scrubbed up before we started. He says, that makes sense, says the woman. You're an atheist, aren't you? Yeah, how did you know? Asks the man. The woman replies, because I didn't feel a thing. Mendel was very old and suffering from a rare disease and could only drink human milk. How can I get human milk? Mendel asked the doctor. Well, Ruby Finkenstein has just had a baby. Maybe she'll help. So every day Mendel went to Ruby's house for his daily feed. Ruby was a dark-eyed, big-breasted lady who in spite of herself gradually became aroused as Mendel lapped at her ripe breasts. One day as he quietly lay silent, she whispered to him, tell me, Mendel, do you like it? Wonderful. He sighed. Is there... She hesitated. Her lips parted. Eyes glowed. Is there anything else you'd like? As a matter of fact, there is, murmured Mendel. What? Ruby asked breathlessly. Mendel licked his lips and said, maybe a little cookie. There are 3 women who always hang their laundry out in the back garden. When it rains, of course, the laundry always gets wet. All the laundry except for Brenda's. The other 2 women wonder why Brenda never has her laundry out on the days that it rains. So one day they are all out in their back gardens putting their clothes on the line. When one of the women says to Brenda, how come when it rains, your laundry is never out? Well, says Brenda, when I wake up in the morning, I look over at Paul, my husband. If his is hanging over his right leg, I know it's going to be a great day and I can hang the laundry outside. If his is hanging over his left leg, I know it's going to rain, so I don't hang it out. What if it's pointed up? Asks one of the women. Well, says Brenda, on a day like that, you don't do the laundry. A girl named Mary is in line to go to heaven, and while she's at the pearly gates talking to St. Peter, she hears a drill and then a scream. She asks, what's that? St. Peter replies, oh, that's just an angel getting her halo fitted. The woman thinks about it and then starts to talk to him again. Then she hears another scream and asks, what's that? St. Peter smiles and says, that's just an angel getting her wings fitted. She says, f this, I'm going to hell. St. Peter says, but they raped you and so is you there. She just smiles and says, at least I have the holes for that. The Little Johnny woke up in the middle of the night and went to the bathroom. On the way back to bed, he passed his parents' room. When he looked in, he noticed the covers bouncing. He called to his daddy. "Hey daddy, what are you doing?" The dad answered, "Playing cards." Little Johnny asked, "Who's your partner?" The dad answered, "Your mom." Little Johnny then passed by his older sister's room. Again, he noticed the covers bouncing. He called to his sister. "Hey sis, what are you doing?" The sister answered, "Playing cards." Little Johnny asked, "Who's your partner?" She answered, "My boyfriend." A little later, Dad got up and went to the bathroom. As he passed Little Johnny's room, he noticed the covers bouncing. He called to his son. "What are you doing?" Little Johnny answered, "Playing cards." Dad asked, "Really? Who's your partner?" Little Johnny answered, "You don't need a partner if you have a good hand." Flat-chested young lady went to Dr. Smith for advice about breast enlargements. He told her, "Every day when you get out of the shower, rub the top of your nipples and say, Scooby Doo, I want bigger boobies." She did this every day faithfully. After several months, it worked. She grew great boobs. One morning, she was running late, and in her rush to leave for work, she realized she had forgotten her morning ritual. At this point, she loved her boobs and didn't want to lose them. So she got up in the middle of the bus and said, "Scooby Doo, I want bigger boobies." A guy sitting nearby asked her, "Do you go to Dr. Smith by any chance?" "Why, yes, I do. How did you know?" The man stood up and cupped his balls and said, "Hickory dickory dock." Were having trouble conceiving a child, so they went to a doctor. He examined them and concluded that the problem was one of insufficient penetration. He suggested to the man that they try the rear entry position. The man said, "What is that?" The doctor replied, "Just watch the dogs and do like they do." The man said, "My wife is very shy and she won't do that." The doctor replied, "Try giving her a glass of wine or two and she will lose all inhibition." Some while later, the doctor met the man pushing a stroller. "I see it worked," the doctor said. "Yes, it did, doc. But now the problem is my wife is an alcoholic." "How did that happen?" the doctor asked. "Well, every time we did it, it took 7 or 8 drinks just to get her out into the front garden."